Spoštovane dame in gospodje, dobrodošli na sončni strani Alp na Univerzi v Mariboru. That was Slovenian. Esteemed ladies and gentlemen, colleagues from ATHENA partner universities and also from outside the Alliance, welcome at the sunny side of the Alps, welcome at the University of Maribor. Welcome to the seminar series, the European University Initiative from European Policy to Practice on the Ground, Solutions for Smart Integration. In the context of the transition from the Slovenian to the French presidency, and also in continuation from the Portuguese and German presidency over the Slovenian, the European University for Green Digital Europe, ATHENA, with support of the French institutes in Slovenia, Germany and Portugal, after a journey of several months, arrived at the first seminar out of 4, all taking place in November and December 2021, and each hosted by one of the partners of the ATHENA University Alliance. The aim is to reflect critically and constructively about opportunities and challenges in the chosen field, and today the field is digitalization. So our today's workshop and seminar is titled Digitalization of Processes. How much and what kind of digitalization is meaningful for European universities? It is hosted by University of Maribor, the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, Computer Science and Informatics. I'm glad to thank Professor Dr. Tatjana Velca-Družovec for her engagement in the preparations of today's event and all her team, and the speakers who are going to contribute to today's seminar and for their active participation. I also welcome visitors live in this room and at home or in the offices with your screens. My name is Mladen Kraljic. I shall guide you through today's seminar, and I would like to ask our organizer, Professor Dr. Tatjana Velca-Družovec, to give a short opening address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mladen, for your introduction and for your taking over, leading us through today's event. Dear colleagues, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, partners of ATHENA universities, all that you are with us all around the world. Welcome to Maribor, welcome virtually to our University of Maribor, and welcome to the ATHENA event. Mladen presented already the series of events that we are starting today, and they will follow through the November, beginning of December, to the final event in February, where we will summarize our activities in this field. But allowed me to go 1 year ago. The start of ATHENA European University was almost 1 year ago, and at that moment we just know where we would like to go, but we didn't know what obstacles there will be on our way, what challenges we have to go over. We were hoping that the situation in which the world was 1 year ago, and it is still today, will be already over. But as in the short time ago, one of the events had the title, "Do not waste the good crisis." So we didn't want to waste the strong challenges that were on our way to the final goal, to reach all the goals that we proposed, and of course to do additional added value. And this event today, it's an additional added value for which we have to thank the partners out of the universities, the embassies, their culture and teaching centers that were supporting us and bringing us on that way. Because unfortunately, you will see me today, not just now, I will stop here. I wish you a successful afternoon with us. You are very welcome to join us with your comments, with your questions. either after each of the presenters and finally at the end when we will prepare the conclusion remarks. So enjoy the first seminar from Maribor, and we are going towards digitalization, and we will see where this will bring us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. It is now my pleasure to invite a speaker who is not a member of ATHENA, but a very good colleague and friend of University of Maribor, and coming from a German university, University of Applied Sciences in Reutlingen. I thought a lot how to introduce him, and so I would like to pick two of his characteristics that describe a little bit the reason why he was invited, and he also, I'm glad, accepted to have his contribution today. Professor Dr. Dieter Hertwig is full professor at the named university, and he is a role model of interdisciplinarity because he has titles in economy, in business, and also in informatics. And he is dealing very emphasized on digital transformation of businesses and also in a broader sense of the society. He is situated in the Hermann Hollowitz Centrum in Böblingen, where we also have already met, and I have only good memories about that. So in the second aspect, or his second characteristic, what was the reason that he was invited, is that he is head of the working group called Digital Danube in the European Union strategy for the Danube region. Priority area competitiveness means support for businesses and economics, and he's doing a very good job there, by the way. And in this characteristic, I invite him to speak to us on the topic of regional aspects of digital transformation by the example of the Danube region. And unfortunately, he is through the screen and not in Maribor. And maybe he will shortly explain what is behind him on the wall. Dieter, the word is yours. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mladen. On the back of my screen here on the wall are a few sketches for new projects, like all the time we are working on. And today I want to present a few regional aspects of digital transformation by the example of the Danube region. If we're talking about the Danube region, it's a macro region of the EU. And I will show a bit the linkages between the macro region, the national level, then the regional level where I'm located here in Böblingen region, so it's the district, and how these things fits together and how they can profit from each other. This will be a bit a major topic in my presentation. So I will start at first to explain a bit the transnational dimension of the Danube region and issues in digitalization there. Then I will show how the working group digitalization contributes to the macro region. And at the end, I will bring a bit more down-to-earth project examples, which I think link very well to the macro-regional strategy as well as to the district and regional strategy here in Baden-Württemberg and in Böblingen region. I will start at first with the new strategic cohesion goals of EU. Okay, coming back to these 5 major goals that every macro-regional strategy has as an umbrella, we can see that in the Danube region, where Baden-Württemberg, Bavaria, Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, and a lot of other Danube countries are partners, we can see that for this strategic region, there is an activity plan which manages all the actions that are necessary to meet the goals of the cohesion policy objectives. And so the action plan is produced by different priority areas of the Danube region strategy. And my working group on digitalization is located at the priority area 8, which copes with competitiveness of small and medium-sized enterprises. And I'm there with the focus on digital transformation. So if we look on the linkages between the different levels, you can see that the European Council decides on the strategic dimension of the DG Regio, which is responsible for all the regional programs, and they coordinate the priority area coordinators. And in my priority area 8, I'm leading the working group Digitalization, who helps to fulfill the strategic goals of the Danube strategy. And you can do this by different instruments, like exchanging know-how with all the working group members. So, for example, University of Maribor is also a working group member in our working group Digitalization, as well as a lot of other universities and intermediate organizations in the Danube regions, chambers of commerce, a lot of different intermediate organizations, and you have also as an instrument indirect B projects, which has a very strong transnational focus. And in the way you identify really good transnational challenges and transnational opportunities, you can create from these identified chances indirect project ideas, and you can fulfill with good projects, with good indirect projects, the aims of the strategy, and so you can help to develop the whole region. That's a bit the institutional umbrella through all these different transnational, regional, and district strategies. And in PA8, we have especially these 3 goals in our activities. And this is to improve the digital skills of entrepreneurs in the Danube region, then to improve the know-how transfer about digital innovations to local small and medium-sized enterprises, and to establish trans-Danube digital value chains based on open data lakes. And these are actually the 3 most important actions for us in the action plan, where we try to find answers as a working group Digitalization. And I will give you now a few examples how we want to address these actions. So, for example, to address the action to improve digital skills of entrepreneurs, we launched a project over 7 Danube countries with the name Digitrans SME in the last years. And there we developed innovation laboratories, really a room with a room design, specially built for innovation transfer, for digital innovation transfer. And then we developed methods how you can build up digital business models and how you can transform your business from traditional business models to digital ones. And we developed this as on-site trainings as well as web-based trainings, so a hybrid concept. This supported us unbelievably in the time of COVID, because we were still able to run our education to local SMEs, and we were still able to involve experts from all the 7 other countries if we need them in our context, in our regional context. And so we were able to develop more than 400 digital business models in these 6 Danube regions during the project time and till today. And on the left-hand side, you can see our laboratory here in Böblingen. In the middle, you can see the Digitran's web-based training platform. And on the right-hand side, you can see a success story from a winery in Croatia, where we developed, for example, with the Digitrans method, a product configurator for wine bottles and for printing, so that wineries can configure by their own style their wine bottles in a virtual dimension world, and they can configure the labels and everything. And if they push the button, the bottles were sent to them on a very good logistic way. So this is only one example of what we developed on business models, but around the 6 countries we were able to develop 400 digital business models with SME, who were before not really deep in digitalization, and the Digitrans method and the laboratories help them to develop their digital business models. This is an example of a really transnational cooperation, because you have skills in the whole Danube region divided on different geographical areas. So, for example, our Croatian partners, they were very good in didactical skills. Our Romanian partners, they have a very long history in good entrepreneurship skills. Ourselves, we were very good in innovation method development and laboratory design. And our Austrian partners were very good in technical platform development. And so the idea is in the macro region that you can bring together the best of breed, the best skills of every country to develop something together, which you were not able to do it by yourself if you do it only in the region. That's a bit the idea of digital innovation in a macro region. And the sustainability effect on this project was that we have nowadays 6 laboratories physically in 6 different countries, and we have an ongoing exchange, even the project has finished, about our daily life, everyday life experiences. And how could we map these experiences now to our regional level in Baden-Württemberg, where I live? So we were able to donate the Digitrans laboratory to a center we founded as a digital hub. It was sponsored by our Ministry of Economy in Baden-Württemberg. But the reason that we had already laboratories like the Digitrans laboratory, or we have also a retail laboratory in our environment, was the kernel for a proposal towards a digital innovation hub. And today, this is the kernel of our state hub here in Baden-Württemberg. We have, together with IBM, which is just around the corner, or Star Division, that's a spin-off of Mercedes-Benz, and we develop here digital business models and solutions for the medium-sized enterprises here in our region. And meanwhile, we are in an even bigger proposal for a European digital innovation hub. And we are there in an ongoing contact with Maribor University, because what we want to do, we have 3 big research institutions in our state. So we have ZEBB HHZ, Hermann Hollerith Center, it's my institution. Then Fraunhofer Institute for Labor and Organization. It's a huge institute just around the corner. And we have the new university campus of Technical University of Munich in Heilbronn. It's located in Heilbronn. And we joined together to compete as a European digital innovation hub. So we are actually in this hub building process. And what we want to do, we want to deliver services from a service catalog in our region, but one or the other service is developed much better along the Danube region. And what we do at the moment is we invite partners from digital innovation hubs in other Danube region countries to deliver one or the other service to our service catalog. And we want to do vice versa, the same for the others. So this macro region coalition has even there an interesting impact, and it's a good network. Then going back to a bit smaller initiatives, which are not so expensive like a European Digital Innovation Hub. Since we collaborate in the Danube region, our working group, we have very often exchanges between 2 countries or 3 countries. This, for example, is an exchange we have actually with the Târgu Mureș region in Romania. And they profit a bit from us at the moment, from our experiences in LoRaWAN-based IoT networks. And there we build, for example, insect counters. We use them in our forest, and they use them meanwhile in their wineries. And we have an exchange about these technologies. So the colleague from Târgu Mureș will visit me next week on Monday, Tuesday, and we exchange our systems, our services we have in these both countries. And we share all our service ideas and technologies in a shared database. It's a service catalog which was sponsored by our state ministry, and all the Danube regions are invited to publish their IoT services in the service catalog. And at the end, I will come to a last project we are actually involved in. It's a project about value chains in the agriculture sector with the focus on resilience. So how can you make value chains resilient against climate change, against market dynamics like we had it with COVID, or if you have harvest incidents, how can you make value chains in that area sustainable? And it's a model based on miscanthus. It's a plant you can use for 6, 7, 8 different end products in totally different industries. And what we try to develop as a project at the moment are different digital services that are able to raise the resilience of these value chains. And this is actually a strategic project of the state of Baden-Württemberg, where we cooperate with BioPro. That's an agency, a state agency for circular economy, where we cooperate with different Steinweiss innovation centers who bring a bit the idea to other countries, and where we have involved partners from Bulgaria, from Austria, and where we are working together on a shared idea of bringing the circular economy and the CO2 poor environmental challenges so that we can fulfill these aims, which are also according aims if we look at the beginning of the regional targets, which are according targets and aims towards digitalization. So that's the last project example, how you can cooperate and fulfill a macro-regional strategy like the Danube region strategy. And all in all, at the end, it's working with people and with networks. So I want also to advertise a bit to go in different other networks we just joined with the help of University of Maribor and Mladen last week the Danube Rectors Conference, and it fits very well in our portfolio of Danube region initiatives. So, for example, Reutling University is a member of the Joint Government Commission of Baden-Württemberg, or is a member of the Evaluator Committee of the Danube Perspective Program. We have a very rich state-owned foundation where we run projects through the Danube region. And at the end, like a lot of us started, we have a very long traditional network of partners in Interact programs and projects. And from time to time, and I hope COVID will end soon, we have then also opportunities to make bar camps like Mladen mentioned before, where I met him first. Beside all the digital innovations and perspectives, I think you need still space to meet other people, to get know them, and have a bit fun together, a good time. And this is all the time the source of innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dieter. I think that the regional mission or the regional aspect he spoke about, or you spoke about, is interesting for all partners of the European University Alliances, because the principle of setting up these alliances is that they have representatives from different European regions. Especially the ATHENA partners are involved either in the Alpine region strategy or in the Ionic Adriatic region strategy, or like Maribor in the Danube region strategy. And I also thank you for connecting the overall policy level down to individual projects to show a little bit how these things can be done on a cooperational level. And I like especially this approach by collecting the best. I would almost say it's a kind of smart specialization policy in project setting and project conduction. I also very much remember our bar camp, especially the karaoke, PowerPoint karaoke, where you were nice enough to give me a very funny presentation to give, and you were talking about chicken. Maybe it will be an occasion to show later to somebody how it works. Thank you, Dieter, once again. I would kindly ask all people to put their questions to the chat. We will collect them, and in order to ensure each speaker to come to the end and to not to lose too much time waiting for his contribution, I kindly ask for your understanding that we will have the discussion in the end after the fourth presentation. I hope for your understanding and your patience. Departing now from the regional level, we come to an institutional view on digitalization, and I welcome Assistant Professor Dr. Marco Höbel, who is Assistant Professor and Researcher at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science. He's also active in ATHENA, Work Package 4 especially. And he's going to present, I think, a very relevant topic of digitalization in the context of cybersecurity. You know that the European Union put several priority areas of digitalization to the agenda, and he's going to present us something titled Secure Digital Transformation. Marco, the floor is yours.
Mladen, thank you very much for the words. So, hi everybody. As already said by Mladen, I will try in this short talk. I will try to present some of the key, let's say, key aspects of securing the digital transformation, mainly from the cybersecurity perspective, since digitalization is, or digital transformation is, of course, very much cybersecurity related. So let's start. So why the flip side of the coin? Why is there a risk for digital transformation? We all know that digital transformation and Industry 4.0 demands interoperability, the exchange of information flows, and then therefore necessarily systems must open up in some sense and consequently expose their data or their resources to strong risks. In most cases, attacks occur from the outside, but of course, we also need to take into consideration internal attacks on such systems, and this is why it is essential to understand how to protect oneself and what kind of risks are we exposed to. So we are talking about cybercrime, which nowadays presents a big risks, and cybersecurity is a major investment and an investment, future investment or investment essential when talking about digital transformation or digitalization, since the attack surface widens, so data is exposed through different devices, through resources, to services, and of course also the infrastructure, not only data is exposed and consequently can expose data. Now, why is cybersecurity, why some people think that cybersecurity is lagging the digital transformation? The focus of the digital transformation is most on organizations, on the speed, automation, optimization, innovation, and other transitional goals. But the problem here is that you need to also focus on cybersecurity and compliance. Yeah, so one should consider cybersecurity more not only as a cost, but also as an opportunity or as a fundamental requirement for organizations or companies. Cybersecurity involves, on the other hand, rules, regulations, training, systems, some, let's say, some approaches, some methodologies, and everything that is included in the implementation of cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is barely mentioned when talking about the digital transformation, but on the other hand, is a very important factor of any digital transformation, since everything goes digital, or most things go digital. And if we are talking about digitalization or digital, let's say, assets, these assets are, as mentioned before, very much exposed to risks. And according to a survey conducted by the company Dell, only 18% of the respondents confirmed that security has been involved in their digital transformation initiatives, whereas on the other hand, I think 85% confirmed that they, of course, used or considered other aspects of digitalization. On the other side, cybersecurity is not a simple process. It requires the development of a strategy, prioritizing, identifying most critical processes and systems within the organization or company, and also sources or resources that are vulnerable to attacks, and on the other hand also identify attacks when they happen. It, unlike other aspects of business, you cannot predict how much an attack will actually cost a company or how much will it affect. You can do our estimation, but at the end it's quite problematic to have a very let's say very precise number in that. So when a cyber incident happens, then usually at the end you know how much it costs you. So making a business case for cybersecurity can be difficult. On the other hand, digitalization, digital transformation also includes mobile technology, which change a lot of players and a lot of parameters of the environment. So like mobile, also IoT, on the other hand, makes these security parameters become more complicated, since you have a lot of new challenges, new channels, new attack surface, and traditional security mechanisms like, I don't know, firewalls or antivirus software are not enough, are let's say not only the minimum when we are talking about security. And organization, of course, often undervalue the information. So they undervalue how much their data or information is worth. So because they undervalue information, they also don't make a business model or don't take this into consideration when talking about digital transformation. So cyber crimes, on the other hand, are rapidly evolving, are rapidly also increasing. So we have, for instance, nowadays very often companies or organizations are faced with malware attacks like ransomware, which locks your data and then tries to get some money or tries or demands some ransom from you as the, let's say, the holder of the data. Social engineering attacks are getting better and better, are getting more tailored. Here, artificial intelligence will probably even play an even more important role than it does already today. So social engineering is actually, of course, a psychological aspect of cybersecurity, which targets the most weak, usually the weakest link in cybersecurity, which is the human factor. And of course, data leaks, which present a very big, nowadays, very big and often also media very well covered risk and well covered also incident. So an intrusion occurs through leaving something open, usually unintentionally, usually using some security holes or security vulnerabilities which have not yet been defined. But on the other hand, if we're talking about digital transformation and business going on the web, on the internet, the denial of service attacks, big, let's say, group of attacks also play a vital role, since they can very much influence the business continuity of a company or organization. So how to ensure company cybersecurity within organizations or companies? First of all, we have to, the decision makers must choose how to protect the business, and they do this by carefully evaluating the value elements. So what are the elements which have value for our organization or business? And of course, collecting company data is essential, because it optimizes processes, makes production more efficient, and reduces costs. But at the same time, it also brings up new risks, let's say, a new wider attack space. And connecting data, connecting devices using cloud, being able to find the data anywhere is a great opportunity. But you don't need to forget that this opportunity, of course, exposes you outside to the outside world. Everything is nowadays online. Everything is connected. So this makes presents a very big problem here. And of course, when you're talking about cyber, one of the key, let's say, approaches is cyber risk assessment, where you can map the risks and vulnerabilities for a specific system, let's call it computer system, and assess the weight of possible damage. On the other, this is a proactive strategy. On the other side of the coin, you have a reactive strategy, which is a cyber emergency response plan, which is actually a plan, a guide that highlights the actions that need to be taken in the event of a cyber attack. How this can be implemented? This can be implemented in various ways, usually using software, processes, and also human resources. So now, because we mostly talked about threats, we talked about vulnerabilities of some risks. Now let's also say a few words about emerging cybersecurity solutions. So security automation is an essential part of cybersecurity. So the idea of such automation of cybersecurity solutions is to keep key to cope with the growing number of, let's say, more and more sophisticated threats. This gives also the opportunity for new ways of securing, or new ways of implementing cybersecurity, like machine learning systems, like artificial intelligence. These usually use some sort of attack pattern detection or semi-automated fashion of detecting attacks, and also, of course, responding to these attacks. On the other hand, we have cybersecurity data sets and data-driven approaches, which collect security-related data sets, and they're becoming more and more important when developing your future approaches, future methodology for securing cybersecurity in your systems. And of course, these data sets usually present, let's say, a prerequisite for some learning or training or validating these so-called data-driven systems, which include, for instance, AI, machine learning, and other similar approaches. Of course, standards are important, as standard-developed organizations tend to incorporate usually the latest technologies and practices in their work. So standard-based solutions are usually more effective and increase the cyber resilience of organizations, because they are also, on the other hand, very systematic. And of course, you usually nowadays integrate both policies for cyber and physical security. Why? Since there is a close interaction between cyber and physical systems. So in different interplay. For instance, let's give an example like electronic access gates or digital video surveillance systems. All of these systems, of course, present the interconnection between, let's say, physical systems, which can or cannot assure security, and on the other hand, cyber security systems. So nowadays we cannot talk about, let's say, securing physical systems without securing cyber systems, and vice versa. So there's an interplay between those two worlds nowadays. And of course, when we're talking about digitalization, cybersecurity, we also need to pay attention to vulnerability databases. So many years of collecting information and knowledge about cyber threats. The cybersecurity community has, in many cases, established some, let's say, a wide range of vulnerability databases, which can be used to maintain or disseminate information about known security vulnerabilities, also practices and similar approaches. An example, for instance, of such a database is the NIST. This is the US, but still the NIST National Vulnerability Database, which is one of the most popular databases in this category. But of course, many security and security as a service also plays a vital role here. We were talking about this kind of, let's say, solutions 1 or 2 slides back, but now there is, of course, there is a surge of security solutions that are offered based on security as a service paradigm, and this is some sort of pay-as-you-go option. Yeah, typical examples are very much nowadays very much popular managed security solutions, which you actually buy or rent or do as a subscription service, and which primarily usually target small and medium businesses. Why? Because of course, for small organizations, small or medium businesses, it usually doesn't make sense to have, let's say, big group of people or a whole department related to cybersecurity. You cannot do that because you don't have resources, neither human, neither cost resources or financial resources to do that. But of course, emerging cybersecurity solutions nowadays also include decentralization and the so popular blockchain. So blockchain as cryptocurrencies have revealed its capabilities, but actually to speak a little more wider, the distributed ledger technology nowadays strives towards decentralizing and securing transactions across IT systems and devices, and is currently being very much exploited through various projects. Also, the implementation is in companies, organizations, as a secure, privacy-preserving and anti-tampering infrastructure, which can have a wide range of applications besides or beyond the financial transactions, which probably most of us are familiar with. Now, how is Europe related to this let's say situation? The current state of cybersecurity knowledge and capabilities in the EU is, or maybe also Europe wider, is not very much encouraging. We are quite lacking behind, as this slide indicates. For instance, up to 30% of the European demand is made by companies which have headquarters outside the EU, which doesn't, if a company has a headquarters inside the EU, it doesn't mean that it's a EU company, but still. And Europe is the location for the corporate headquarters of only 40% of the, let's say, top 500 global cybersecurity providers. Whereas if you compare that, the states are in that sense much more successful. They are accounted for about 75% of those, and for instance, a small state like Israel has 7% of this. Okay, so Europe will need to speed up. Some initiatives in the past already tried to do that, like EXO, like the public-private partnership, or ANISA, the European Cybersecurity Agency, but nowadays, of course, the EU is looking to the future and wants to close this gap. So what does it plan for cybersecurity in Europe? Some of the plans have been already taken into action. So the European Cybersecurity Competence Center, which is intended to manage the funds foreseen for cybersecurity under the Digital Europe and Horizon Europe program, and to facilitate and help to coordinate the network and community which drives cybersecurity technology in this area, and also to support and to define let's say, the direction where cybersecurity will go inside Europe. And tightly related to the competence centers, now it is foreseen to have a network of national coordination centers inside Europe in each member state as some sort of national contact point, so to organize the whole cybersecurity field in a more, let's say, more systematic way. And the objective for the national coordination centers is to the national capacity building in cybersecurity and linguistic assistive initiatives. And of course, we cannot neglect also the competence, the cybersecurity community, the competence of the community. So the idea is to broaden this network to have a large, open and diverse group of cybersecurity stakeholders from both research, the public, the private sector, civilian and also defense sectors. So Europe tries to include or to implement this by also including specific stakeholders in that. So two of these stakeholders we have already mentioned. So the European Union's Agency for Cybersecurity, or ENISA, which is dedicated to achieve a high common level of cybersecurity across Europe. So it's an agency which already exists for several years. Now also EXO was quite important in the recent years. So the European Cybersecurity Organization, which is a fully self-financed non-profit organization established in 2016, and it actually has, let's say, a consultant role to the European Commission and is a public-private partnership, which means that European companies and other non-profit organizations are members of EXO, and they try to somehow facilitate and also to draft a roadmap the future of cybersecurity in Europe. But of course, we also have to talk about GRC, the Joint Research Center of the European Commission, which is a science and knowledge service. And also, of course, not only for cybersecurity, but also for cybersecurity, tries to advise and support you regarding the policy. Now, an important stakeholder here are the 4 pilots, these are 4 pilot projects which are financed, currently still running under the Horizon 2020 financing, and it will try to demonstrate how the future of cybersecurity competence network in the EU should work. And the purpose is to retain and develop the cybersecurity technological and industrial capabilities across the EU. Now, how are we at the University of Maribor involved in all that? So we are involved in securing or support security and cybersecurity in digitalization through many aspects. So we are involved in activities, of course. We're involved in the pilot projects, so the projects which, in 2 of them, the Cybersecurity for Europe and Concordia projects, which again have a wide range of cybersecurity related initiatives, from research to road mapping, education, governance, and so on. We also are involved in other smaller projects like Erasmus Plus project, like CyberFit, with which we work together with Mladen, or DIT4LL, so to try to prepare also students to understand security in the broadest context, and not only from the technical perspective. And on the national level, we are also currently involved in a so-called fundamental project from the Slovenian Research Agency for enhancement of cybersecurity education and training in Slovenia, in that case, because it's a national project. Now, how do we include the stakeholders and raise the awareness? Of course, by understanding the importance of cybersecurity and the importance of cybersecurity not only for the digital transformation, but especially for digital transformation, to raise cybersecurity knowledge, so skills, knowledge, and we need to also have qualified staff, since we all know that there is a big lack, still a big lack of qualified cybersecurity experts. And of course, cybersecurity is a vital aspect of digital transformation, by protecting data, by ensuring the infrastructure and other resources. And in this case, through projects, through initiatives, we are able to facilitate and to contribute to these points. Now, where is ATHENA? As we are also part of ATHENA network. Where is the ATHENA University or Alliance involved in all that? Of course, cybersecurity is a very interdisciplinary topic. If we are talking about cybersecurity and digital transformation, we already see this interdisciplinarity, but still it's even further on. So the idea is to have joint research and development in that field, so project application, shared resources for results. So we can use, for instance, policies and governments developed by ATHENA partners in order to assure secure digital transformation. We can use cybersecurity application of the results, directly use mechanisms, approaches, methodologies, methods, and so on for securing our digitalized, let's say, services, products. Of course, we can identify open research challenges and opportunities, which makes a good opportunity for collaboration throughout the ATHENA partnership and even further. And of course, not only we need to need to show how important digitalization is for ATHENA, but we also must pay attention to the, let's say, the negative aspect of digitalization, which is in this case security and the risks. In this sense, we need to educate all stakeholders, not only the students, like using the CyberFit project or the H2020 research project, but further or wider. And to finalize, we can use ATHENA to discover common areas and also consequently have joint projects. We are establishing catalogs in which also cybersecurity and digital transformation play a vital role, so we can identify such possibilities of cooperation. Now, this brings me to the end of my presentation. I would like to thank you for your attention. As already Mladen has indicated, maybe then questions at the end of the session to have a little more possibility to listen to all the presentations. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marco, for your presentation, especially for me interesting because I'm also involved in one of the projects, as you mentioned, and as a former lawyer, in general, interested in these aspects. I think that not only for the research and education as such, cybersecurity is very relevant, not to mention that the European Union in its program has reserved 2.3 billion euros for the field of cybersecurity inside the European Program for Digital Transformation, but also virtual learning environments. ATHENA is going to invite students from all over the world to enter its virtual learning environment, its blended learning environment, and I am sure that there are a lot of security issues to be handled and tackled, and I hope we will find a very good solution for that. As said, questions maybe later. I would now also invite another aspect in the already mentioned presentations. The European Union has a program for digitalization, and they have also a kind of plan how to implement the management of this digital transformation from the public side. And so a big topic of discussion is the so-called European Digital Innovation Hubs. On this field, I would now like to present Assistant Professor Dr. Mohamed Turkanovic. He is also from Faculty of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at our university, and he is head of the Digital Innovation Hub DTC, also running to become a European Digital Innovation Hub. Like Dita already mentioned, we are in contact with many others who have the same aspect, and I am also looking very much forward to hear from him about Digital Hub as a factor in the digital transformation of society. Mohamed, the word is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Mladen. I hope you hear me. So thank you for the introduction. I am glad to be here today with you. Not to bore you too much, maybe I would start with a simple question, and maybe you just raise your, let's say, virtual hands. How many of you already know about the Digital Europe program? If you can just raise the hand like myself. So I know about it. So I hope the Microsoft Teams won't crash because of such hand raising, but okay. So we have eight people raising the hand. So, okay, probably if I asked you how many of you know about the Horizon Europe program, I think there will be much more hands raised. Of course, I will talk today about the Digital Europe program, which is very much important for a lot of us, not only for you, but also for the University of Maribor and also for all of the other project partners within the ATHENA. So what is the role of the digital innovation hubs in the age of digitalization? I will try to explain this in a few moments. But first of all, maybe I just do a short introduction why we came into the into a time where such DI ages are really needed. So Muhammad Ali, which has the same name as myself, right, has said once that defeat doesn't make you stronger, but it forces you to change. So it's quite a powerful statement, which actually the European Union embraced, because we weren't actually really defeated, but if we would score the points in digitalization, the European Union would actually come to the third place, considering China, or let's say even Asia, but specifically China, South Korea, and the States. So European Union is losing here the traction, and it started to play a bigger role and more active role in this matter. So this is important because there is a prediction that the share of the global GDP for the European Union will actually fall from the current 22% to the 14% by 2050. Which is quite big considering the GDP as for the whole EU. This is quite important because digitalization plays here a much important role. China, for example, and other Asian countries were heading into the, let's say, production states where they were producing a lot of goods, and this way they were producing also a lot of GDP for themselves. But now their GDP is also growing in terms of new and innovative and technology-based industries. And this is something that was quite shocking for the EU and also for the States. So the only wrong move when it comes to digitalization, digital transformation, is actually not making any move at all. And since we know that technology development is fast, we have to consider that digitalization is actually slow. And this is something that we need to be careful of, because the European Union and we all need to start thinking how to digitalize our processes. And to do so, we need to digitalize our organizations. And we need a new approach in this manner, because without technology, of course, nothing works. But the important thing is that until now, we were focused maybe on digitization. And digitization and digitalization are two different things, because if you just gonna copy analog things, your physical documentation into the let's say digital form, you didn't change any processes. You're just scanning files, you're just sending emails besides something else, but this is not digitalization. Digitalization means that you're focusing all of your processes into supporting them by information communication technologies. And please start to think about you. When I say you, think about you as possible SMEs, possible companies, possible universities. When I talk about universities, think about your administration staff. When I talk about SMEs, think about, for example, people who work in small factories, people who produce like small goods, like small stores, people who create dresses, maybe sell some simple things. These are all SMEs. And when you think about their digitalization factor, we come to a place which is quite low, and it needs to be highly digitalized in the next years. So to do and continue with digitalization, this one needs and requires creativity, problem solving, intuition, and a lot of innovation, and quite less routine. So this is a big problem because we are not used to such thinking. And like Darwin said once, it is not the strongest of the species that survives, nor the most intelligent. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. For this reason, the lady, as you see her on the picture, you probably know, our president of the European Commission, von der Leyen, said that Europe is a powerhouse in science, but while we are good at making science with money, we need to get better at making money out of science. And because all of this, we came to a few years ago, the European Union started to analyze what is the actual state of digitalization in Europe. For this, they created the so-called Digital Economy and Society Index, and they are now actually repeating this analysis every year since, I think, already 6 years or something, where they are actually trying to define and see what is the so-called DESI index. And this DESI index captures five properties, like how are the member states actually evolved in the terms of connectivity? How is the human capital in terms of digitalization and digital maturity of people understanding how to use it? Then how is the usage of the internet? How is the integration of digital technology in everyday businesses, and what is the state of the digital public services? Everything gets accumulated and we get the so-called DAISY index, and I guess you already saw your country's acronym here, just to see that the EU, the Slovenia has shifted now from the being lower than the EU average now to the 2 spots higher than the average, but still this is quite low. I don't have here a comparison between the EU level and other states like South Korea and United States, but if I would show you, it would be quite lower as a EU average considering other countries. So the idea is now to start measuring these DAISY indexes and to start improving the whole digitalization factor in the EU. Meaning we need to capitalize the human factor in terms of digital understanding and the usage of digital technology. We need to get better at connecting our services and people with the internet. We need to get better in providing digital public services and to use digital public services by the SMEs and other institutions. And we need to really integrate these digital technologies. Here are some challenges that the European Union faces now, and you already probably know about them. We have like about 1 million open vacancies for digital technology experts. And these are facts from 3 or 4 years ago. They are higher now. There are 53% of EU companies experiencing difficulties in acquiring and recruiting ICT specialists. There's, of course, a shortage of ICT and STEM professionals across all of the member states. There are actually ICT specialists are 3.7% of total employments, and there are only 1.4% of ICT women specialists in currently. So that's a huge problem because we need to get better in digitalization. However, our overall majority in let's say laymen and other people are quite low in terms of digital skills, and we are quite in shortage of people who could teach them about digital skills, and we are also quite in the shortage of people who could give the companies and SMEs a boost in using digital technologies. For all of these reasons, the European Union defined the Digital Europe program. It was defining it for already 3 years, and finally in November 2021, yes, that is now, it was published finally. It was 17th of December, meaning just 1 day ago. We now have an open call, and this Digital Europe program is going to be something similar, and it will play along with the Horizon Europe program. So when we talk about the Horizon 2020 and the Horizon Europe program, they were focused and they were intended to boost research in the EU. Now, the Digital Europe program, however, its focus is to boost digital transformation and digitalization in the EU. And it has quite a specific goal. And it has also its own budget, and its budget is for the next 6 years, 7.5 billion euros. It's been lowered since COVID, but still it's quite big. So the idea of the EU digital strategy within the Digital Europe for All program is to help people and invest in digital competences for all Europeans in order to protect people from cybersecurity threats, as Dr. Höbel taught before, to ensure that the most innovative technologies like artificial intelligence is being used in the EU to accelerate ultra-fast broadband for homes, schools, hospitals throughout the EU, and to expand Europe's supercomputer capacity to develop innovative solutions. So these are the most important goals. And as it was mentioned already before, these 6.5 billion will be, let's say, shredded towards key technologies and key goals of the Digital Europe for All program. 2.2 of 6.7 billion euros will go to supercomputing. How? Well, the idea is that the EU wants to strengthen its EU supercomputing capacities by 2027, and it wants to increase the usage of these supercomputer capacity by companies and by the public sector. it plans to invest 2.1 billion into artificial intelligence in order to invest in open usage of artificial intelligence, to create European data spaces, and they have been already created, started to being created, and now they will just be boosted by this money. And the idea is that we strengthen the support of existing artificial intelligence testing and experimental facilities across all member states. 1.7 billion will go to cybersecurity. It wants to boost European capacity in optical communication and quantum communication infrastructure. It wants to support wide development of cybersecurity capacities, and it wants to enforce advanced skills and understanding why cybersecurity is important in terms of today's businesses. And almost more than €500 million will go to specialized programs to develop advanced digital skills. Why? Because we have a shortage in advanced digital skills among the majority of the European unions. Well, if you think about the students, please don't think about them. Think about the active popularity, people who work in factories, people who work in a lot of places like bakeries, etc. They probably do not have advanced digital skills. The idea is not that everybody now becomes a computer scientist or an engineer, but the idea is that these people will know how to tomorrow use probably, let's say, solutions which will depend on artificial intelligence, which will depend maybe on blockchain, which will depend maybe on HPC, etc., and etc. And 1.1 billion will go into European digital innovation hubs. And my point of talking today is to introduce you to the point of digital innovation hubs. The digital innovation hubs, their idea now is that they will be created, set up, and their job is to facilitate all the things that I said before. They will need to actually go get companies, get them to train their employees on advanced digital skills, to introduce to the companies how they can use artificial intelligence, HPC, and etc. So European digital innovation hubs, they will be set up across various or all member states. So each member state will have 1 or 2 or 7, 5, depending on the size of the country, European digital innovation hubs. The European Commission wants that each European digital innovation hub actually will be specialized either on cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, HPC, or advanced skills. These hubs will then actually facilitate all these on NUTS 2 or NUTS 1 regions, depending again on the states. So their idea is that they will have to be connected to each other, meaning Slovenian EDs will have to be connected to Spanish, etc., etc., and they will have to support cross-border countries and regions as we talk in the terms of digitalization. So the main 4 services that the European Digital Innovation Hubs will have to provide are test before invest, skills and training, support to find investment in innovation ecosystem, and networking. Everything, all these services are actually focused to SMEs and public administration. So meaning when we talk about test before invest, the idea is that companies, when they want to think about AI, maybe use AI, or when they think about including new digital technologies, well, maybe they want, but they do not know how. If they do not know how, well, EDs will have to give them skills and training to teach them how. When they know how, they will have to provide them with facilities like test before invest, where these companies can maybe just test artificial intelligence methods and techniques. And if they like it, and if they see it has a potential to them, then they can go and invest by themselves to or let's say production state and something and more. So these are the main services. Why is this also important for ATHENA project and all of our partners and other universities? Because within the advanced digital skills, the Digital Europe for All program will invest, as I said, about 0.5 billion euros in actually skills and training. How? Well, they will now fund master study programs, short-term trainings, and job placement. And if you will go to the Europe.eu page, you will see that there are already tenders open from the 17th November 2021, one day, and until the February, there are already 4 or 5 project calls where projects are now called to define new master programs for artificial intelligence, HPC, interdisciplinary projects, cybersecurity, etc. So the European Union will now fund the setup such of master programs, short-term trainings, job placements, etc. And they will be funded in order to boost this training of digital skills. We at the University of Maribor have set up such a digital innovation hub. We are now serving our NUTS2 region, but we have also applied to be an ED. For this, we have set up a consortium of other digital innovation hub in Slovenia, and now we are coordinating this, and we have been actually also permitted by the government to be one of the candidates to be one of the EDs of the Europe for Slovenia. So the idea is that the digital innovation hub, as you see here, they will have to connect SMEs with the public sector and researchers, because in order to facilitate digital transformation, you need highly skilled staff. Well, researchers currently at universities are those who have the most knowledge on advanced technologies like AI, HPC, cybersecurity, etc. And these people will need to provide this know-how to the SMEs and to the public sector by teaching them, providing them test before invest consultancies in infrastructure and so on. So these are some of the services that we already provide to our companies, our partners, our stakeholders: skills and education, finance, innovation, community development, strategy, digital strategy development, promotion, partner search, etc. and etc. So, and our digital innovation hub already works on quite a lot of area of digital technologies, like of course, artificial intelligence, gamification, VR, blockchain, IoT, because we are a big university, we have 17 faculties, and we have a big network. And we did an analysis from the Office of the Digital Innovation Hub, and we found that there are 40 laboratories in the University of Maribor which engage in the field of digitalization. There are more than 400 researchers who work on digitalization on various factors. And of course, we have a lot of, let's say, years of experience. And now we need to use this know-how from the universities to help companies and help the public sector to boost the digital transformation. Here's just one list of all of the laboratories on the terms of digitalization. I will not go through them, but just for you to understand, we have also built a center for AI, and of course we can boost now with an HPC. It's called Vega. It is one of the most highest performing HPCs in Europe, also one of the 150 in the world. And we will now try to use this capacity to help, of course, the Slovenian SMEs, but of course also other SMEs over the border. So the future is digital transformation, and the idea of the hubs is, of course, to facilitate that. So I'm willing to answer any possible questions. I hope I wasn't too long, and this is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mohammed, for your. I'm sure that ATHENA, as a network for digital society, European society, by definition is active in also digital innovation processes. And I'm sure that we are keeping track on that. Unfortunately, COVID has taken away 600 million from the cybersecurity network, so I apologize for the wrong data I gave. It's based on the original plan, which was 2.3 billion. The famous words, last but not least, could not be more appropriate for anyone else than the lady that is going to come now as a final speaker of today. In ATHENA and University of Maribor, she doesn't need any special introduction. She's a full professor at Faculty of Electrical Engineering, Computer Science and Informatics. She's head of the Database Technologies Laboratory of the Institute of Informatics. Many things more, Erasmus ambassador and so on. She is the University of Maribor coordinator of the ATHENA project and many more projects. You have seen some of them in the presentations of the colleagues of the faculty as well. And so, with no further ado, I would announce Professor Dr. Tatjana Velzer-Družovec to give her contribution, Accountability in the Digital Age. Please, the floor is yours.
Mladen, thank you for your introduction. It was such a nice one that make me my responsibility also to this presentation as well as to ATHENA even much higher. But anyway, maybe this is a good start because you are giving me accountability for all the activities, for everything that's going on. And I would like to talk about the accountability in the digital age. Namely, what's going on? We are digital. We are also now digital. But the question is if we and all other stakeholders are always aware of what's going on. Let's go a bit to the history and look to the state of the art and technology. I hope no, I was not successful with the dates because I want to say I hope I was successful with the dates, but there is the mistake. So on the 6th of August, not 2021, because in such a case we would did even much bigger step forwards as we did it anyway in the last 30 years. Namely, that date is 6th of August, 1991. Internet actually became publicly available through the World Wide Web. This fundamentally changed the world, and numbers increases every day in the sense of possibilities and connections that people have it. Namely, technology changed the world and the work and how we live and how we communicate. If we didn't believe this in 1991, and if we didn't believe this in the previous years or the time during all these activities, we believe nowadays. The COVID put us into the technology much more, and for that reason, the awareness and the accountabilities are even more important. So our life is digital, whatever we are thinking, expecting, doing. So it is must have for people, for society, for economy. I was yesterday taking part in one of digital events that we have so many during those days. And believe or not believe, please don't let this know to my professors and to my bosses. Anyway, I was not really studying computer science and information technology, but electrical engineering. But anyway, I spent and lost 10 minutes to enter this event. Yes, digital is a part of the life, it must have, but still sometimes or often enough to remember us that we are anyway people, and as a people that we are not digital and that we are reacting differently, and this happened to me. As I said, I need 10 minutes to enter the system because it was not the system that I'm using usually, point one, but it was the system that I was testing already 1 year ago. So some of the things change. So we can see the changes are very fast, and we can hardly sometimes even follow them, because what is working today is not working tomorrow. Or when I was preparing and communicating with you today through the email, somewhere in the between my email changed its design, because we are in the digital world, and the software can be changed even during my time of the working. not asking me if I want or if I do not want, or maybe I said already somewhere, yes, it is allowed. I'm not against the digitalization. I need the digitalization as all of you, but I want with this my talk to make you aware that we have to be aware what the digitalization all means. Marco Höbel reminded us before on security, and I will go a little bit broader with that in accountability. Even that the digital world is foster us in innovation, and of course it's also helping us in some other activities, so that we are doing the things that maybe we would not do or we would not do in that way. Technology make us lost sometimes as well. We were talking about digitalization, and digitalization means also hyper-connecting of individuals, of organizations, of communities, societies, data, billions of objects and entities that are all around us. Namely, what is the most difficult things on the world? To disappear from the internet, to delete all our digital informations, and became non-visible for the digital world again. So once again, awareness is important in all those fields, even that we need the digitalization. We need all these tools and all these connections that we can see also on that photo on the right side. Of course, we don't need only those connections that are presented there, but we need also the products that are presented a little bit down. Online platforms, I mentioned them already in one or another way. E-commerce. During the COVID lockdowns, probably without the e-commerce, people would not have enough food, would not be able to take care about the health, to get the medicine, to get some other tools. Social media, it was very important also if I'm going to the COVID. So that the people were able to communicate with each other, to exchange some of the information, to make some advertisements, good or bad, correct or non-correct, but anyway, we have this and we have to be again aware. Artificial intelligence, it's very important as a product, as the whole field, but also its involvement in different research areas. It is almost everywhere. There are many products where artificial intelligence is integrated, and we are probably even not aware about that. Yes, we are aware when we are buying, I don't know, the washing machine with which we are communicating, and which starts to work when we ask it, because this is possible also in the connection with Internet of Things. If I'm going in the same moment a bit further, but still staying with the products. That's all great. But what's happened if you are coming home and you cannot open your washing machine, or there is still the water in it because the technology is not working always? Again, digitalization is important, digital support is a part of our life, but be aware also about those things that are not so good, actually. Sometimes by all those things that are good, but we have to be aware of them, we don't really want to see the reality. Okay, I like the chocolate. Chocolate is great. I mean, dark chocolate, it's also healthy if it has at least 70 to 80% of cacao. But if there is too much chocolate, or it is too milky, or whatever, or I have some other sensitivities, it's not good. I have to be aware about that. Data analytics. Every day we are faced with different analytics that are presented to us, or that we even ourselves using them. Preparing again this event, we were checking and looking from where the participants are coming, who are registered, and so on and so forth. Are we aware what all every day it's checked on us? No, I have no problems with that. But awareness and accountability are important. Robotics, again, autonomous cars, perfect. But what about if the car starts to work on itself? We were able, before this period that all this was possible, we were reading science fiction books where the tools and platforms and the products like we are using today were coming out, and the people were afraid of them. We don't need to be afraid of them, but we need to know how to work with them. And how to work and on what we have to take care. We will have a look on the next slide, where we will start to discuss the accountability a bit more detailed. So, accountability, why and how are my first questions that I would like to answer. First, to ensure a safe and transparent online environment, to take responsibility and accountability, and to understand each other. For that reason, we have to think about it and to have a look what we are going to do. To ensure a safe, or if I'm going a little bit lower, in the sense of security that in our second presentation was presented and given. The security and accountability are in some points very close to each other and are supporting, of course, each other. And how to do it? Through the development of contextual instruments, guidelines, and other policies that will support our awareness and integrate it into the work that we produce, either as a product, either as a service to others. And the service to others on the base of accountability is done by the Institute of Accountability in the Digital Age from Netherlands, where they are following three main points. Create awareness for accountability in the global world. Host global multi-stakeholders community to communicate with each other, to show where could be the vulnerabilities and what to do. provide the knowledge on accountability, and explore and develop instruments for accountability. The Institute is tightly cooperating with UNESCO. What is another important point? UNESCO just had this week, I believe, the important conference about the knowledge in Paris. And all what we are discussing today is a part of the knowledge. We have to know the possibilities, we have to know the benefits, but we have to be aware also about the things that are not supporting us in the right way, or that we need to think about that. So let's go and see accountability in the way of some definitions on the next slide. Accountability is not an afterthought built with after something goes wrong. No, we cannot talk when something is going wrong, then to go and blame whomever and for whatever. It is an essential requirement that we have to take into account before one act, during the act, and after the act. Accountability is also not about blaming others, not doing well, not understanding the things good enough, not be aware enough. This is something what is giving us the power of change and enable us to change the things in the way to be accountable and to be aware. And at last but not least, the change is the only constant thing that's happening to us, and it's happening also through the digital age. So nothing is stable, everything is changing, and we have to follow these changes, but with accountability and awareness. How to reach this? What to do about that? I believe that Marco Hörbel actually through the projects give us already the answers on these questions. Different projects that are established on different fields are enabling us to research, to learn, to collect the knowledge, and of course to give the knowledge further to students, to our colleagues, to people coming from different fields. Where in this connection we can find ATHENA? We are researching, we are teaching, we are giving the knowledge further, we are exchanging the ideas, we want to communicate, not digital. It's much nicer to do this face-to-face, believe me. It would be now so nice to read from your faces what is your opinion about the accountability. But yes, accountability and awareness are also part of the ATHENA, are also part of our activities, or should be. As long as we were aware and accountable, our results will have added value. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation. There are just on the last slide some additional information for communication, also through the email, if you would have some more detailed questions. And I'm giving floor back to our moderator, Mladen Kraljic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As you can see by the flipping screen, size matters. There's a little more than a quarter of a meter between Tatjana and me, and the camera can't cope with that on 1 meter distance. Thank you, Tatjana, for your contentious presentation, which could also be not only from an electrical engineer, but also from sociologists, and even me who studied law, and I always use that as an excuse when something doesn't work technically. It is now the time, and I am looking at my colleagues handling the chat. If there are questions, that we can put them now, and I invite the speakers then to answer to them if they are directed to them. So please, what is the first question? So there's a question to Marco Hölbel. The question is, who are the target groups for the cybersecurity education project? And I just learned that Marco Hölbel has left, so I can promise you that we will send you Marco's reply on email. I just learned it's about CyberFit project, so I can say we have in this project different target groups. One target group are students of our universities, of the partner universities of the project. The second target group is the teaching staff and also administrative staff handling all the name lists and data of students. And we also have a slot that is dedicated to SMEs and I would say economic partners, because we also handle the topic of introduction of cybersecurity in different organizations. And so our target group is very broad. We plan in the next 2 years to do 3 teaching events for students and 2 teaching events for staff. And as a multiplier, we also will ask our colleagues to organize dissemination events for representatives of companies. The project is quite interdisciplinary. We have groups of lawyers working on the project. We have organizational scientists from our Faculty of Management, and of course from the technical faculties of the partners, also information scientists who do some technical issues. The results of that project will be one online manual, which is almost finished till the end of this year. It will be there as some kind of handbook. And we have planned an online course that will be a free optional course. So it will be used for skill training for people who just wish to take a short course. And it will be a free optional course in the studies of the University of Maribor as well. And especially for staff trainings, we will include it in the annual program for the soft skill development among our staffs. Then another question to Mohammed. How are the cybersecurity issues dealt with in blockchain applications? How safe can we feel with our data flowing in the digital ether? And how can we be sure that data will not be corrupted in a blockchain platform? By our dear coordinator of ATHENA, Nuno Escudero. Please, Mohammed.
Sure, I'm still here. So how are cybersecurity issues dealt with in blockchain applications? Well, the blockchain itself is a distributed and decentralized network. And when we build digitalization processes using, let's say, blockchain tokens, it means that we are building it on top of a network between distributed and decentralized nodes. This means that when we store data on such a blockchain database, let's say the distributed database, the data is not only secure because it's distributed in many ways, it's also replicated in so many ways. This means that in case that one of the nodes, one of the databases, let's say, would fail, we still have all the other nodes in the blockchain to support the data still there. And the blockchain can be, let's say, dynamic, add and remove nodes. But of course, because of this immutability of data on the blockchain networks, there is a problem of GDPR, including blockchain in digitalized processes, because we are not allowed to store directly personal data into blockchain, because once it is stored, it cannot be deleted from the nodes. So you need to be really careful which type of data to store on such a node. So you need to encrypt it and allow only the user to actually decrypt it, etc. So in terms of blockchain is, in simple terms, a combination of research field of data technology and cybersecurity. So it is like a database which has cybersecurity built into it. So in these terms, I would say it is quite safe, but it brings, of course, other possible challenges and problems, as I said, with GDPR, and you need to be careful with that. I hope the answer was good enough. And thank you, of course, for the question.
Oh, because the next question is already in the pipe for you as well. The question is, on what level is digitalization in Slovenia? Can you give a short picture of that?
Well, in terms of the DESI index, we are now, I think, the 16th country. We are above the EU average from 2021. We were, in 2020, we were lower than the average, but the highest part where Slovenia is able to improve is, of course, the digital skills, whereby we have been quite advanced in setting up the digital public services and connectivity. So Slovenia is quite high in this manner, but the human capital needs to be improved in this manner, and the integration of digital technology into services has time for improvement. Yeah. So.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. I would like also to read you a comment from the chat on Mohammed's presentation. The interpretation of DESI requires specific attention since methodological changes were introduced for latest report in 2021, the Recovery and Resilience Facility, and the Digital Decade Compass. Data is recalculated for previous years, but still some of the longitudinal data are not incorporated as they used to be. Indeed, DESI is a highly valuable self-reflection and a comparison for the member states in this field. So much about the comment that we found in the chat. So if there are, by Josef Gerkes, our colleague also from the Faculty of Electrical Engineering Information Science. And we have a question for Dieter, the first presenter. I hope he's still with us. The first question is, who are the training providers in Digitrans in this project? Are this only universities or also other agencies or institutions? It is a mixture, or how do they work together in practice? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was a mixture, so we were pairs. Normally we had one university and one intermediate organization like a digital hub or a chamber of commerce with their education department. So it was all the time in every country a duo of a university and an innovation transfer unit.
And the second part of this question put by Anne DeLuise from our partner in Orléans. Did you in this project teach students and representatives of other target groups together, or was it separate courses?
No, it was separate. It was professional only for owners of SME from totally different areas, from the food sector, from mechanical engineering sector, from healthcare sector. So you can imagine on 400 different companies, totally different sectors. But what we did and what we still do is we use this laboratory also for teaching at university. So this has a kind of sustainability effect too to the participating universities. So there are different universities like Tigomures, like Zagreb, like our university, Technical University of Vienna. So there are all incubators available, and they use it for everyday life innovation trainings and for teaching.
Thank you very much, Dieter. And I hope the answer was satisfying. I am a little bit guessing where it came from, because we have also in ATHENA the aspect of lifelong learning target groups and regular students. And sometimes it is a question whether it's rational to put them together in a lecture room because they come from different backgrounds, from different prior knowledge. And it might be hard to have them in one room and teach on the same level.
Yeah, but coming back to this regional dimension, I think Interreg project offers a very good opportunity to build up facilities also for later teaching. This was my experience. It's a nice format of combining the things a bit, and you can gain empirical evidence during the time of the project if you work in innovation transfer with companies. This helps you a bit to validate your methods, and later it's much easier to teach, and because the materials and the methods are really well validated in a practical use. So you have the theoretical concept like interior design at the beginning, a lot of design questions. You use the SMEs to validate your environment, and later you have a good space for teaching students.
Thank you, Dita. I can see that there is a hand raised by Josef Györkes. Please, Josef.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for great presentations for our colleagues. My name is Josef Györkes, University of Maribor. It's actually a question for Dieter and also for others. So in academic community, we have never been approached with such a need for teaching some user-related or skills-related topics too, and it's a bit in conflict with academic aspect and what we need to publish and so on. And as Mladen mentioned earlier, also the same levels that we need to balance. I think these levels are different, but not in a bad connotation. So my question is, how do you approach these different levels of knowledge and the skill within the digitalization and the processes? Thank you.
Yeah, for us, we are working a bit more in applied research. So for us, it's by nature a question of starting very often with hypothesis. We are using normally design science research approaches. And then we have our hypothesis in research. Then we have very often the opportunity to gain nearly realistic data by bringing people inside our laboratories. For example, we have a laboratory for smart retail, and there we can test augmented reality, walk through the shelves and things like that with real life people, and then we gain the data and we can validate and our hypothesis we had before, and we can make the models really robust. And on the other hand, we can use these environments too to teach, for example, shop owners how they can optimize their walking tours through shelves for customers. Yeah. So I think you have to think, like you said before, you have to think on your customers, and these are students, these are SMEs, and this is the academia you have to publish. But it's not, from my point of view, it's not a too big contradiction, because you can use the strength of every field to support the other fields. To get mass data, it's helpful for publication. So we are still publishing on big conferences of the AIS, HIGS or ISIS, yeah, without any problem. And we use then the data from our laboratory we gain. And on the other hand, we use these insights for consultancy of SME.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So that's a bit our approach, to think on these three customers when we start with research activities.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dieter, for your answer. Also, Josef, for your question. I, at this moment, do not see any more hand raisings or questions. And I also, when I look at the watch, see that we are very good in time. And therefore, I would like to thank all the speakers, all the contributors, all the discussioners, and also those who were on the screen with us for the last 2 hours. This was our first seminar on the topic of the European University Initiative, From European Policy to Practice on the Ground, Solutions for Smart Integration. I'm looking very much forward to meet you at the next seminar, which will be hosted by University of Siegen, and it will take place on Tuesday, November 13th, so it's not so long till then. And I wish you to stay healthy and safe, and I thank you very much and say goodbye to you.
Thank you, bye.